Guys, we made it outside.
We made it outside. It's the first time ever, and we are on our first smoke break. But not the smoke break you're thinking about.
No, this one we're going to be going out in nature, talking about all kinds of things that are happening throughout the month, whether that's smoking news, nicotine news, tobacco information, just stuff that we've uncovered this month.
We are planning to do every episode at sunrise. So we're locking ourselves into that, which means we have to wake up very early.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, well, first we're going to talk about we've seen a massive increase. Can you even guess how much nicotine poisoning among kids have been reported?
Man, I would guess around upwards of over 70% more.
70%. Well, think add a zero to that because it's well over 700%. But not just that, we're also going to get into the rise in teens dropping vapes for another nicotine product. And we'll even talk about why the FDA might be finally stepping in. Maybe big question mark there.
It's about time. So, according to this month on my research, not professional research, of course, but just casual research, it appears that one nicotine product is gaining more popularity than vapes, which vapes to me are huge. What could possibly be vapes? From what we've understood, there's something called Zins.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So Zins, also known as AKA nicotine pouches, AKA also known by many other brands like Rogue, Velo, and many more, are really overtaking the market right now in terms of these nicotine products. So many kids tend to report using vaping less. And in fact, when we look at data like the NYTS, the National Youth Tobacco Survey, what we find is in the last year, youth vaping has actually decreased, which is a huge win. But, and here's the big but, when we start to see, when we look at nicotine pouch use, it has almost doubled, right? So when we look at some of these surveys, some report about 3% to now about 6% of students are using more of these vapes. And that to us is a big concern.
So I guess a big question to me is why are these gaining in popularity? Some questions that come to mind is like, are they easier to hide? Are they not noticeable? I mean, what's the big deal with them?
So these things are very easy to hide. They're very discreet. A lot of vapes create smoke or vapor or smells, and that can cue in parents or teachers about students using these products. And today, Zins and these nicotine pouches are very easy to conceal. They have no smell, they're odorless, and they fit between the bottom of your lip or the top of your lip and your gum. And so, they look like maybe a piece of gum or something like that.
Are these the kinds of things that are easier to consume than vaping, or are they a lot harsher? I mean, is there any right or wrong answer to that?
I don't know if there's any right or wrong answer. Nicotine is nicotine. The thing is, they do flavor these products. So you have coffee, mint, fruit flavors, which makes them appeal more to youth, more likely to be used by youth. When we look at how many products are being sold, it's a lot. In fact, there was more cans of Zyn sold than people in the United States.
It seems like when we question kids if they've seen this product, a lot of them seem to refer to other pouch products that aren't really nicotine, like coffee pouches and whatnot. Is there some kind of secret to all of this?
Sure. I mean, everyone loves to hop on that bandwagon, right? So you have other uh, entrepreneurs or people trying to sell another product, sell other types of not nicotine pouches, but they might be caffeine pouches or they might be um, melatonin pouches. There's other types of products that go to promote the use of these things and make them more commonplace. And we've seen this in the past before. This isn't anything new, right? You can think of bubblegum cigarettes back in the old days, right? But it's all a ploy in order to make cigarette smoking, nicotine use much more common, to make it okay for kids and people around them. If this stuff isn't okay, then kids are less likely to say, "Well, that's not for me. I don't want to do that."
So it almost sounds like this other kind is kind of seeping a foot into what's next. So once you have a coffee pouch, then you kind of step it up from there. Then that's okay. Then that's okay. And then sooner than later, you're taking nicotine pouches, it sounds like.
Exactly right. We think that these are likely stepping stones to another product or could be a stepping stone for many out there. And so it really goes to make these products more commonplace and socially acceptable.
All kinds of different pouches can be found at the gas station market. A
Yeah,
lot of bad things can be found there, right?
yeah. Talk about ease of access. These things are easy to get a hold of. You can go to these convenience stores and you can buy them. They're not very expensive, right? Usually less than $10. Usually cheaper than a pack of cigarettes. Also, they're easy to get from family and friends. That's actually the number one answer when we ask students where to get your nicotine products. It's typically from friends or family, and usually friends over the age of 21. So it could be a brother or sister who's using these things. And most people who are providing them to kids think that they're harmless or not bad for you, which we know that's not true. Nicotine can harm the developing brain. It can make it can make memory, attention, and learning span more difficult, especially when they're used in adolescence. And there's a lot more about nicotine pouches that we just don't know yet. We don't have all the research to say it's going to cause X, Y, Z. We don't know. We haven't had these things around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Fortunately, this product is new, but I just have lingering questions for the future. Like, is it easier to sell this to teens? Do they have to check ID for that? I mean, these are all questions I have relating to the future if any of this is even being studied.
Right. I mean, those are great questions that should be addressed for sure. One thing that we do know is that one way that youth are becoming exposed to these products is through social media marketing. Back in the day, they banned all advertising for cigarettes via the FCC, so they couldn't, use any mass media marketing. But what is mass media marketing today? It's social media, and that doesn't count. That's fine. And so we have a lot of what is known as influencers promoting these products on social media, viral influencers pushing hashtags in, and so more and more kids are getting exposed to these products early on, seeing how cool it is, seeing all these people use it for focus or attention because it helps them study. I mean, these are all these false claims that people are using and really getting them hooked early.
So, according to this article that I read online, it says from nationwidechildrens.org says poison control centers have logged over 135,000 cases of nicotine poisoning within children ages 0 through 6. And this is just strictly in the US.
And when was the dates for these?
This article is between dates 2020 and 2023, so this is relatively recent. The article also shows that between 2020 and 2023 that nicotine pouch poisonings have rose to over 750%. I mean, that's an insane number. Do you think you know why?
We looked at one article that reported most nicotine poisonings in kids occur at a very low level, less than 3 milligrams of nicotine they needed to ingest to have a nicotine poisoning. And when we look at products like Zyn, the typical starting level, the lowest level that you can buy per pouch of nicotine, do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
It's about 3 milligrams. So it's something about twice as high as maybe the lowest level you might need to see a nicotine poison in a young kid under the age of 2.
Is there any common sense as to how much nicotine you could pack in these pouches, or is there no studies in relation to that on what's a safe level and what isn't?
So I haven't seen a whole lot. There might be some studies out there. We do know that at higher levels of nicotine, it's much harder to quit nicotine, right? If you're doing, 12, 15 milligrams a day, if you're smoking, it's the same thing. If you smoke more cigarettes per day, you're ingesting more nicotine, which is going to make it much harder to quit and to taper off that level of nicotine. We know that typically these Zyn products come in between, between 3 milligrams. I've seen as high as up to 12 milligrams at some points. And there's also other sort of off brand nicotine pouches that have gone up to 15 or 18 milligrams per pouch, which is a lot of nicotine.
So just hearing that made my mind wander a little bit, and it's got me questioning, well, what is the US really doing to target these issues and really push past this? Which led to another article I read, and it said that the FDA is pushing for child resistant packaging. I mean, do you have any thoughts on relation to that? Does the FDA usually step in like this?
Yeah, so they can, and they certainly do and should. Currently, it's hard to know exactly what's going on in the FDA right now. It's pretty difficult to know today, right now. But we do know that in 2015, we had an increase of nicotine poisonings between 2010 and 2015. and we thought that might be linked to children getting their hands on these nicotine like vapes, right? The e-liquid. And so there was actually another increase during that time period where we saw more kids under the age of 6 getting a hold of these products and having some sort of nicotine poisoning. And so there's this big push to say, hey, well, if we're going to sell these products, we need to have nicotine, or we need to have child resistant packaging. So they implemented that rule, and the trend was that the nicotine poisoning actually went down, which was great. That's a great example of, hey, we see a problem, we see an issue, we we try to fix that issue. It worked a little bit. We still had nicotine poisonings, to be clear, right? There's still more work that could be done, but we changed the directory of where we were headed. And now what we're facing a brand new product that's easily accessible for kids. It's flavored, and typically it's put in bright, colorful packaging, which again goes another way to attract kids to this stuff. If you're a young kid, you see this on the floor, the ground, the table, you see mom, dad using this stuff, you're likely gonna be very attracted to that and maybe want to try that for yourself because it looks like candy.
If you have more questions or if you feel like you need a little bit more help and more guidance, we actually have a new series that came out that's not exactly on nicotine pouches, but we definitely cover it in some of the little short episodes. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, this whole series is a 30-day series, so there's 30 different videos you can watch. They're all less than a minute, so it's a pretty easy watch. But they're really designed so that if you're a parent out there, to have that conversation with your child early on. We know that early childhood conversations, typically about anticipatory guidance. That's guidance that you give early to say, hey, you're heading into middle school or high school, you might see these things. You might see nicotine pouches, you might see vapes, you might see some cigarettes, and here's what I expect from you as a parent. Here's some tools if your friends offer this to you, because it's a very difficult time when you're a child and you're trying to figure out how to interact with people socially, how to say no, how to fit in. It's a lot to do. And so these series is a way to have those conversations early, get ahead of those issues, and make sure that they're prepared and ready for when they get into those situations.
You could find that on our YouTube, on our social media, Facebook, Instagram. We all have it linked there. You can find it at DC Smoke Free.
I did want to mention one more thing too, which is if you are a parent who uses nicotine, or maybe your brother, sister, that's okay. We understand, this stuff is legal for adults. If you want help quitting, we have quit resources too. But the big thing is if you have young kids in the home, there's a couple of things that you can do to decrease that risk of nicotine poisoning or that those young kids getting a hold of nicotine things. Firstly, if you have those products, keep them up high, keep them locked up is like best practice. But if you can't do that, up high in a cupboard in a closet, make it more difficult for these young kids to get a hold of them. Two, try not to use these products around them. When you're using them around young kids, they think it's candy, they think it's okay for them to use them as well. So, try not to show them. And thirdly, it's okay to have a conversation with them early on. Certainly be an age appropriate conversation for what they can understand and what their ability level is. But it's okay to say, hey, I use these products. These products are not good. And if you see me using this, make sure that you don't because this is very dangerous for you. It's the same thing with alcohol or other drugs. We want to make sure that our kids know, like, hey, this is a thing that you can use when you're older, but not when you're, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. Certainly not until the age of 21. That's the legal age of using any form of tobacco product. If you want to check out this 30-day series, go ahead and check out in the description. You'll see the link in the description. Otherwise, leave us a comment and let us know what you think about what about Zins? Do you use them? Do they help you? Do they not help you? Do you want to quit? Let us know.
And I think that just about wraps it. We'll catch you guys on the next smoke break.